Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Black Man Speak. I'm your co-host, the J.R. Stewart.
And I'm your co-host, D. Tommy D. Duncan III, otherwise TD3. Jimmy, it is Wednesday night, March the 26th, the last Wednesday of the month, I believe. And if it's Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Man Speak. Hey, if you haven't already, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when new shows are uploaded, which is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Also, hit the like button to help us with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're here watching the show live, bring a friend, guest, coworker, so you guys have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. With that being said, Tom, let's do what let's give a big shout out for our new theme music coming from Count Basie himself. So if you haven't already, like I said, hit the notification bell, like button, bring a friend, not necessarily in that order, but also, you know, to help us spread the word. I lost my train of thought. Help us spread the word, Tom. Oh, I don't know what I was going to say. Let's do what we do best, Tom, which is bring information about the Black community to social media. So, what do you have for us tonight?
all right, all right. We're going to go ahead and get started. I want to give a shout out to cousin Audrey K, who is in the chat line. I want to thank her for joining the chat line. Anyone out there?
Audrey. Yes.
Yeah. If you're out there, go ahead and jump the chat line so we can see if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments on what we're sharing tonight. And we do have a jam-packed show. So we're going to go ahead and get started, Jimmy, with some condolences. Starting out, of course, with some sad news. Former boxing heavyweight champion and legend Big George Foreman ascended into the realm of ancestor on March the 21st of this year at the age of 76. Jimmy, man, for those who were who were big boxing fans, this is a great loss. Known as Big George in the boxing ring, he built one of the most remarkable careers in sports, winning an Olympic gold medal in 1968, claimed the world heavyweight boxing title twice, 21 years apart at that, and became the world's oldest boxing champion at the age of 45. He was part of the famous Rumble in the Jungle boxing match between himself and Muhammad Ali in 1974, and boasted a total of 76 career wins, including 68 knockouts. He retired in 1997, but not before agreeing to put his name on the best-selling George Foreman grill, netting him fortunes that surely dwarfed his boxing purse earnings, Jimmy. And, for those young folks out there, they probably don't even know Big George for Big George. They know him for the George Foreman grill.
The grill.
Yep. But he was born in Marshall, Texas in 1949 alongside 6 other siblings. He dropped out of school and turned to a life of crime, doing street robberies before finding an outlet for his anger in the boxing ring. He won the heavyweight gold medal in 1968 Olympics in Mexico City at the young age of 19 before turning pro and winning 37 consecutive matches. He only lost 5 bouts in his career. He beat previous undefeated champion Joe Frazier in Kingston, Jamaica in 1973, knocking him down a whopping 6 times in just 2 rounds, which is absolutely crazy. In 1974, Rumble in the Jungle against Ali in Kinshasa, Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of the Congo, remains one of the most famous boxing matches ever. After a second professional loss, Foreman finally retired in 1977 in his young career and became an ordained minister at the Church of Lord Jesus Christ in Texas, which he founded and built. Coming out of retirement in 1987 to raise money for a youth center, he won 24 matches before losing to Evander Holyfield after 12 rounds in 1991. In 1994, Foreman knocked out undefeated Michael Moorer to become the oldest ever heavyweight champion at age 45. He became a pitch man for the George Foreman grill, selling millions of units since it hit the market in 1994. Big George was married 5 times, had a dozen children, including 5 sons, all named George. Yeah.
So, he sold over 100 million of those George Foreman grills. On top of that, Tom, when he
I got one.
Do you?
Yeah, I got one.
I've owned 2 of them in my lifetime, and I think I still have one in the pantry. But when he lost to Ali, Tom, that was a major blow to his psyche, man, because he was so predicted to win that fight.
Yeah.
Um, to get knocked out and lose the way he did, man, it was a big psychological blow. But George was not well liked at that time. He was not lovable. I mean, he was a brute. I mean,
He was.
George, man, the scowl on his face, he always never smiled. So if you looked at George Foreman then to the more recent George
Exactly. Different person.
with a big smile on his face, big lovable George, it's like night and day difference, man. So, but he recovered extremely well, made a comeback, had some success boxing late in life, went on and used that fame of his to make money endorsing the George Foreman Grill, good product, and blew up at the right time. So, hopefully him and his family had a good life, Tom. People will remember him for all the good things that he did, for all of the positivity that he brought to the sport of boxing, and as an ambassador of goodwill, and not so much for being a heavyweight brute back in the 70s, just knocking people out. So let's hope that people remember more the latter George Foreman than the former George Foreman.
And I think over time, Jimmy, I mean, you have to remember that was in the 70s. That was a very long time ago. Of course, we remember that. But this is a beautiful case in what you might call the business school, how someone can completely flip their brand.
Totally, Tom.
Someone who was hated to someone who was loved worldwide and who became an ambassador and an entrepreneur of all sorts. I mean, most folks probably under 40 don't know him for his boxing career. They know him for him being an entrepreneur. Older folks, of course, may know him for being a boxer and then a minister, but this is someone who completely flipped their brand and became a multimillionaire.
Yeah, Tom, he wasn't hated because he was a bad person. He just had a bad persona as a boxer. I mean, he was a bruiser, man. He hit you and knock you into tomorrow if he caught you square, man. He just, he never smiled. It wasn't like he was, knocking down old ladies and kicking dogs or anything like that. But he was just a guy when he stepped into the ring. It was all business, and you just knew that this is the last person in the world you want to double cross or be on the bad side of, because, if he was to hit you one time, it would be all over for you. So and that was the reason, he had that kind of persona. But he totally turned his brand around, Tom. Became the lovable ambassador of goodwill later in life. And that is the George Foreman that we probably remember most.
Absolutely. Our condolences to his family, loved ones, those in the boxing community who knew and loved him the most, and of course, to his family as well. Let's go ahead and go to our next recent ancestor, Mia Love, the first Black Republican woman elected to Congress, became an
Mia Love? I didn't know she passed away.
Yeah, on March the 23rd, Jimmy, at the age of 49. The daughter of Haitian immigrants. She represented the state of Utah in the House of
Utah, yes.
Yeah, her political career formally began in 2003 when she won a seat at the Saratoga Springs City Council and later became a mayor at the age of 34, very young. 2014, she was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives and made history, of course, as the first African-American Republican woman to serve, having been elected for 2 terms. Before entering politics, the mother of 3 was a flight attendant, and just an amazing story. She graduated from the University of Hartford in Connecticut with a degree in musical theater, at the time having aspirations for becoming an actress. In 2022, Jimmy, she was diagnosed with glioblastoma, an aggressive form of brain cancer. Given only 10 to 15 months to live, but defied the odds and lived for 3 years after that diagnosis, Jimmy. So we definitely want to send our condolences to family and loved ones, Jimmy. This was a heart-wrenching loss for those, of course, in Utah, for those in politics as well.
I agree. Wow, didn't know that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Jimmy, let's go ahead and go to our next one. For those of you who are sports fans, basketball fans in particular, you may know this face. And quite frankly, Jimmy, I didn't even know that he used to play for the Mavericks. But Big O, Oliver
Oh,
Miller,
no, yeah, Big O. Okay. Well,
Oliver Miller,
Arkansas.
former NBA and University of Arkansas basketball
Yes.
standout, became an ancestor on March the 12th at the young age of 54. The 6'9" power forward
I
and
know he had passed away.
had been battling cancer and undergoing treatment in Phoenix, Arizona. He was a first round number 22 overall draft pick by the Phoenix Suns in 1992, after leading the Arkansas Razorbacks to a Final Four appearance 2 years earlier. As a rookie, he was on the Suns team that reached the 1993 NBA Finals, however, losing to MJ and the Chicago Bulls in 6 games. After spending 8 seasons in the NBA with five different teams from 1992 to 98, Miller played with semi-pro and overseas teams for 4 years before coming back for one final season with the Minnesota Timberwolves from 2003 to 2004. So, Jimmy, our condolences to the family, loved ones, and the basketball community at the loss of Big O, Oliver Miller.
Yeah, Tom. He was probably about an average power forward in the NBA, man. I mean, nothing spectacular, but he was definitely played well enough to start. Um, but when he was in college time at Arkansas, playing down there with Nolan Richard, for a
Oh,
big guy his size, and then that Arkansas team was a running team. I mean, they were like they were just like the running rebels, man. They just ran the ball and they pushed. And for a guy that big to be able to run the floor the way he did, man, and be successful in that program was amazing. He was fun to watch, man. Yeah, I remember watching the Big O down in Arkansas, man. And like I said, I didn't follow him that much in the pros. Like I wasn't a big Phoenix fan,
yeah,
but yeah, he was fun to watch in college.
absolutely. And last but definitely not least, we have another loss. Former Seattle Supersonics legend Donald Earl Slick Watts became an ancestor on March 15th, 2025, at the age of 73. For those of you who are old school basketball,
I don't know if I remember him, Tom.
yeah, he played for the Supersonics. You may remember him, of course, by his shaved heads before it was really cool, with the exception of maybe Kojak back in the day and a few other folks. Watts, who earned the nickname for his shaved head, was a Sonics fan favorite who was known for his off-kilter headbands and as a prominent Seattle basketball advocate. Watts suffered a stroke in 2021 and had dealt with a few health issues for years since. Undrafted out of Xavier University of Louisiana in New Orleans, Watts played for the Seattle Supersonics from 1973 to 78. He was a point guard that led the league in assists and steals per game in 1975 and 1976. He played 7 years in the NBA, 5, of course, of which were with the Sonics. Watson became a teacher after retiring from the NBA, coaching basketball and teaching physical education at elementary schools in the Seattle area.
Okay.
He spent multiple decades as a teacher before retiring from the teaching profession in 2017. He was known, of course, as a big advocate of Seattle sports, supporting the WNBA Seattle Storm and University of Washington basketball. Also served as a de facto ambassador for Seattle basketball, even after the Sonics were moved from Seattle to Oklahoma City in 2008. So we definitely want to offer our condolences to the basketball community and the Watt family, Jimmy. And
Yes.
yes, absolutely. So all that being said, those are our condolences for this week. I want to thank Ms. Tanya for joining us on the chat line. And anybody else out there, feel free to join us on the chat line. We'd love to hear from you, Jimmy. And we've got a couple of other stories. We'll start out since the last two of ours were on sports. Jimmy, I don't know if you saw this, but it looks like the world champion Boston Celtics are going to be sold for a record $6.1 billion to a private equity group led by Bill Chisholm. If the sale actually goes through. It's supposed to happen this upcoming summer. An investment group led by private equity executive Bill Chisholm is purchasing the reigning NBA world champion Boston Celtics at an estimated $6.1 billion from the current ownership group Boston Basketball Partners, led by the Groesbeck family. Wick Groesbeck, the team CEO and governor, will remain in his current role through 2027-2028. If approved, the sale should go through this summer. The $6.1 billion price tag is the highest ever for a team in U.S. sports history, surpassing the $6 billion deal for the NFL's Washington Commanders just a couple of years back.
Wow.
The Celtics were estimated to be worth $5.5 billion in a recent study on sports teams in February of this year. The sale comes at sports franchise valuations are rocketing, making it more difficult for individuals and families to buy sports teams. The NFL last year followed the NBA and other major leagues in allowing private equity firms to take stakes in teams. A recent 11-year, $76 billion agreement signed by the NBA with Walt Disney, NBC Universal, and Amazon starting next season will more than double annual value of the league's previous media deal. Interesting news, Jimmy.
Wow, that is surprising. I didn't know they were up for sale.
Yeah, Jimmy. So I didn't think that a basketball franchise would surpass a football franchise in the price tag, but I guess they get more expensive and expensive.
Yes, they are. They don't, you know what? These professional teams, Tom, don't make a lot of money in the end. Maybe they hide the money or find a way to hide the money, but I think whoever was the most profitable football team last year only netted about $38 million when it's all said and done. Basketball kind of the same way. They rake in a lot of money, but they spend a lot of money on payroll and operational costs, rent private jets to fly the teams around. So it costs a huge amount of money to put these operations on, and you just really have to be in it for the equity. To grow equity long term, because there's not a whole lot of profit in it. It just you don't just buy a professional team to line your pockets, because there ain't gonna be a whole lot of money.
Not a lot of cash flow.
Yeah, a lot of cash flow, but not a lot of profit.
Right.
They find a way to spend all of it. With salaries and the executives and bonuses and operational costs. Yeah, so there's just not a windfall of profits left over. So until you sell the team, you get your reward when you sell, not from sitting. I mean, even Mark Cuban, had to unload his majority equity stake in the Mavericks, because I don't know. They said he was broke. I don't know how he got broke.
Mark Cuban?
Yeah. Broke for a billionaire, Tom, may mean a couple hundred million. Who knows?
Okay. Mark Cuban broke. Okay.
Yeah, that was the rumor that he was broke, which is why he sold the majority stake in the Mavericks. But for something you pay $200 million for, and you sell it for a couple of $1 billion, man, it's not bad.
That's a nice return on your investment.
Yeah, really nice return. So, and that would be the motivation to buy a sports franchise, not for the annual profit. So, if you want something, a long-term investment vehicle, go hustle the money up and buy a sports team. So I hear the what's that Florida team? The Marlins.
Yeah,
Tallahassee.
Okay.
I hear they're up for sale for a mere $1 billion.
Really?
Yeah.
$1 billion.
Well, it's just one. If you can rustle it up.
Okay.
And their value has increased from last year, where they were like worth $980 million. So they were like the lowest price professional baseball team, I believe, from what the report said. And so, yeah, they're up for sale, and now the price tag is $1 billion. So if you want to own a professional sports team, just write them a check.
Get your friends together, raise some money, and you got a franchise.
A couple of fish fries, Tom. On the block, back in the day, block of fish fries and plates.
Yeah.
Man, just start selling some. I'm gonna take you long to raise the money.
Well, Jimmy, hey man, we may have to make a couple of phone calls, see what we can do.
Yeah. So
maybe I don't know, one of the brothers or sister billionaires can raise the money and get a team together, and we'll maybe have a majority, because I don't believe we have any black majority owners. I
I
know
don't
MJ
think so.
Soda
Not in
State
baseball.
in Charlotte. I'm talking about in any sport, a majority owner.
Probably not in any sport.
Okay, we got
some minority
basketball,
owners.
basketball, baseball, football, soccer, hockey. I don't know of one majority owner since MJ Soda State.
Yeah, I think we have some minority owners who were part of the investment groups. But you're right, no majority owners. But hey, I hear that pickleball is catching fire. So here's a time you can jump in on the ground floor, Tom, and buy you a pickleball franchise.
What is pickleball? I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I've never seen it. I don't know what pickleball is. It makes me.
It's like miniature. It's something. It's between tennis and table tennis. It's right in the middle. It's a miniature tennis court. So you play it the same way you do tennis, but it's geared for kind of older people and less mobile, because you don't have that large tennis court to move around, and you play it as doubles.
Okay.
So you got to watch it sometime. This is becoming quite organized. Hell, they even had a pickle league championship. They got a pro circuit now, so it's actually catching some of the former. I think I saw what's the girl from Germany, big German girl who dominated women's tennis for a long time, Steffi Graf.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, she was playing with it was like a pro-am tournament, so she was playing with some amateur, and then I can't think of who she was playing against in some championship, but yeah, man. Now would be the time if you want to own a pro franchise and you don't have $1 billion.
Oh, they have professional franchises in pickleball?
Yes, they do, Tom. You can get in on the ground floor and get you a professional sponsor of a pickleball tournament and a league.
All right. Well, I mean, hey, if it's making money, then so be it. The only thing I know about pickles is putting a peppermint in it, and
put a peppermint in it, Tom. There you go.
All right, Jimmy. We'll get to that a little bit later.
What else do we have?
We got one legislative story, and then we'll get back into our sports stories, Jimmy. But I thought this was a pretty interesting pickup that I saw in the news just recently. Looks like Florida legislators are considering making some changes to their child labor laws. A new proposed bill in Florida may allow teens to work longer hours, including late night shifts, to fill gaps in the workforce left by immigrants who have been deported by the current administration. A move sparking fierce debate among labor advocates, educators, and parents. The legislation introduced by Republican lawmakers in Florida would roll back existing protections for 16 and 17-year-olds, eliminating restrictions on how many hours they can work during the school week and extending permissible working hours into the night. Proponents argue that the changes are necessary to support local businesses and offer teens more financial independence, but critics warn the bill could lead to exploitation, hinder academic performance, and set a dangerous precedent by prioritizing economic benefit over the well-being of teenagers. And in addition to that, it looks like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and the Florida legislature advanced a bill that could create room for children to work not just longer hours, but including overnight shifts, start working as young as 14 years old to work overnight shifts. If the order is passed, teens could work overnight on school days. The current law prohibits them from working any later than 11 p.m. or any earlier than 6:30 a.m. In 2023, a Florida law was enacted requiring employers to charge $1,000 per day for failing to check employees' immigration status via a federal database known as E-Verify.
Okay, so once again, I understand the pros and cons, both sides of this, Tom, and really I kind of have mixed emotion. I don't think children should be working overnight shifts or early morning shifts during school week. But on top of that, I don't think the government should be that involved in regulating these hours either. Where are the parents of these kids
children
at the ground
or making it legal for teenagers to work overnight shifts when they should be in school?
No, I don't agree with that, Tom. But I don't agree I don't agree that the government should be setting the rules either. I think we're the parents for these kids. Shouldn't parents be able to put their foot down and say, no, you have to be home at 9, 10, or whatever the curfew is going to be. You can't, if you have a part-time job, you can't work during the school week, or you can't work late during the school week. The parents should be the final deciders of this, not the government, because whatever rules the government put in place, people are going to find a way to exploit it, to find loopholes in it and work around it. And so you're taking responsibility away from parents. I'm not saying you should make it illegal. I'm just saying you shouldn't make it legal either. So this should be something that should be totally left up to parents. And if parents abuse the working laws to put their children in detriment, then that's when you have child protective services to come in and make the case that, look, you're making a really bad decision when it comes to your child. You're letting them work too much. It's interfering with their schoolwork. You're hindering their future. And so let the agency that's already responsible for children take care of the children. Creating more laws about when children can work, when they can't. All you're doing is legitimizing or illegitimizing decisions that should be made by parents. So what say you?
I would say that obviously these laws are in place for a reason. And I know that in the latter part of the 1800s, early part of the 1900s, it was not illegal for children, very young children, to work some pretty egregious hours and shifts in very difficult working conditions. And so therefore there's a reason that legislation has been put into place for this, because obviously some parents aren't responsible enough to ensure that their children are not working. Or if you look at children who may not have parents in place, they may have guardians, or who knows what they may be doing, that this is a safeguard to ensure that large companies are not taking advantage in or exploiting children who may be in a desperate situation, or even not, for benefit, because typically they're going to pay these young people, these children, less, just like they do undocumented workers or illegal immigrants. And so these laws are put into place to protect children that should be focused on getting an education so they can make something out of life. And so, I would agree with you, parents should own the responsibility, but obviously because some parents, unfortunately, may not be taking responsibility, or they may be certain circumstances for the whereabouts of the children, it's a safeguard to ensure that children are not being exploited. And if we look at this type of stuff, Jimmy, it's not like these children are going to be working in jobs that are going to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is going to probably be very low level manual labor, and sometimes very harsh working conditions.
Well, there's another reason you've got to be careful when you depend on government to do this kind of activity that parents should do, because as you know, administrations change, rules change, and it all comes down to who has the money, the lobbyists, and who the politicians are going to listen to in the end. And so if your children are going to be subject to rules, arbitrary rules that can be changed, good rules today, bad rules tomorrow, who knows what's going to be coming the week after that. If you want to place your children in that basket, so be it. But my point still remains is that work on good parenting. And if you can't be a good parent, then don't have children.
Well,
and if you have children, you can't be a good parent, then give the children up to with the possibility, hopefully, that they can find someone who can provide good parenting to them. But once again, these should be decisions that the parents should. If you have children, you should have enough sense to know that during the school week, your child can't be closing and working 2, 3 o'clock, coming on 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they got to get them to go to school at 7. There's just not enough time for them to rest and recuperate with that kind of schedule. So letting your child close some convenience store that can be subject to robbery at night is not a good parenting decision. And if you're allowing your child to do something like this, if I find out, I'll be the first to call CPS to report you. And that's what we should all do, Tom. We just should not tolerate bad parenting. And if you are a bad parent, then the community should come together to report you, hopefully to get you some help so you can make better decisions as a parent. Waiting for the state to step in and pass this law, whatever law the state passed, somebody's going to be happy who benefits from it. Somebody's going to be sad. That's just the way it goes. And it's going to be fluid. It's going to be that way until someone decided to change it. And generally, what governs that is those who have the money and the power. When the current law doesn't benefit them anymore, then they're going to push to change it so it does benefit them. And that may not always benefit your child.
I would say that we are in this country and have been for a long time in a state of crisis when it comes to parenting. And that's not just parents who are, struggling and in poor neighborhoods, but even middle class and some wealthy parents. I think that this country has been in a state of crisis for a lack of parenting for several years. And in that case, that could look many ways, whether that's abuse, whether that's absolving responsibility for parents to teachers, which you will hear from a lot of teachers, and or whether they think that things replaces parenting because of their priorities, whether that has to do with their career or something of that nature. And so therefore, unfortunately, I would agree with you in principle that the parents should be responsible. But as we've seen, Jimmy, over the last generation, I'm not talking about all parents, God forbid, but too many parents, Jimmy, have absolved their responsibility. In addition to that, Jimmy, you have to add to that over the period of time, we have younger, less responsible parents. And I say that tongue in cheek because my grandparents and great grandparents were very young when they had their children, but they were a lot more responsible. The parents that we have today are younger possibly, but they're not as responsible as our great grandparents who had a sense of ownership of not just their children, but their community as well. So it would be nice to say that the parents should be held responsible, but that ain't happening.
Yeah, Tom, because we shifted social responsibility and criticism away from the public. It's politically incorrect now to say anything, to criticize anybody. You can't say crap about anything. A person's weight, having children out of wedlock, things that were social embarrassments 50, 60 years ago are normal now. And you can't say anything. So we replace social responsibility with putting responsibility on the government to pass laws to keep people in line. So that's where the shift is. And what I'm saying is that there are some protections that government should provide overall. When it comes to especially for children, there is some basic protection that because we know 100 years ago children were being abused. A lot of them still being abused.
Correct.
But what has been what was really effective is being able to shame parents into making good decisions. Their children were working long hours to support the family, which happened. But you could also look at parents and say, hey, shouldn't you and your husband, or you and the father, or you and the mother should be working more to keep these children having to go out there and work and earn a living? I mean, my mother and her siblings, my uncles and aunts, when they had to go out in East Texas and pick cotton after school and on the weekends to bring money home for the household, because my grandfather was gone and my grandmother was raising children by herself and she needed the help. But that's not the case today. Hopefully, we have better protection for our children. But Tom, we can't absorb people from making bad decisions and not criticize them for their bad decision when it comes to kids, and just leave it up to the state to pass some law that governs when. Because now you see that, like I said, when those winds change, who would thought in their right mind that the state would allow kids to close on a school night? But hey, this seemed to be the path that Florida is going, and once that pass, if it pass, there will be some trifling parents out there that are going to be letting their kids work the 11 to 7 shift.
And what happens there?
Huh?
And then what happens there for those parents who
nothing's going to happen because it's legal, and the kids are going to drop out of school.
And that's my point.
The whole future's going to be wrecked over a few dollars. And you can't say anything to the parents. If you saw these parents, if you said, hey, that's really shameful that you are letting your child work 11 to 7 shift on a school day. How are they going to class and
but
being
there's
effective?
nothing preventing them from doing it.
And then if you were to say anything towards the parents, then you would be wrong. Because in this age of political correctness, you can't shame people. You can't talk about their bad decisions. You have to be accepting of everything that everybody wants to do. And if the government allows it, Oh, well, it must be okay. Well, in this case, it's not okay. But once again, this is where we're headed. Time putting too much responsibility on the government to regulate our lives when really what we need is for to say, hey, who's your parents? Whose child is yours? And then go to those parents and say, you should be ashamed of yourself. I saw your child at 7-Eleven closing last night. During a school night, during school period, during a school day. What's wrong with you folks? That's what should happen, rather than, oh, well, it's legal. The state said it's okay, so, and he or she wanted to do it, oh well.
Well, again, that's why there are laws like this. We have a couple of comments in the chat line. Cousin Audrey says it would be difficult for a parent to find a balance to allow kids to work too much and neglect their education. A wise parent would let education be a priority for their kids. Also, she says, maybe allow them to work weekends within reason. Ms. Tanya says, children working full-time shifts at night are subjected to being victimized to trafficking, kidnapping, all types of things. Bad idea. We have to protect the children, and the law should be responsible for doing that. I mean, to the subject of sex trafficking, we've had a couple of people on here to talk about sex trafficking.
Yes.
And God, you have parents who have put their children into sex trafficking.
Yes, that's true.
It is illegal, and they have still done it. So at a minimum, there needs to be laws against child exploitation.
How about you don't have a job, no part-time, anything, unless you're making the grades. I mean, if you can work part-time somewhere and keep your grades up, okay, fine. But if you're working part-time and your grades are suffering, then guess what? You give the job up. You should be, if you want to pass a law, how about this? You need to have a B average to work part-time while you're in school. If you can't maintain a B average in school, then you can't work part-time anywhere unless you're cutting grass on the weekends with your own lawnmower.
Absolutely. Have a couple of comments here from Uncle Asar. Let me see here. Florida child labor law is a reflection of capitalism. People, greedy capitalists, had to die for the labor laws of the 20th century against children working, and rightly so. So he definitely has some good points. There it says, IRS, not the parenting that is the issue, is the politician of the capitalist system in which we live. That is the problem. If not for capitalist exploitation, there'd be no discussion on children working, because what capitalists are going to do is find the least expensive labor cost as possible, whether that's illegal immigrant or potentially in this case, children.
Tom, capitalism is capitalism.
It is.
It's like if you bit by a snake,
it has no moral compass.
If you bit by a snake and you wonder why the snake bit you, because that's what snakes do.
Right.
Period. Capitalists do what capitalists do, which is try to make money, reduce costs, increase profit what you can. Period.
Well, that is the only compass that capitalism goes by, and that's making money.
So don't blame them for being what they are. The fault here is parents, one, allowing their children to do this, and two, for us to put too much into the state to provide the protection. They should provide some protection, some blanket protection, but ultimately parents should step in to do the right thing. If you can't be a good parent, we need to all stop looking the other way while these bad parents exploit their kids. We know who these people are because they're our friends, they're our family members, they're our neighbors, and we don't say a word because of political correctness. Now's the time to stop this nonsense that we can't criticize another damn person for. Like for me, Tom, I rewarded myself, pat myself a little bit on the back, and I finally got my weight down to 250. I used to weigh 350 not that long ago.
Wow.
I wish when I weighed 350 that my friends and family, other than my wife, she did tell me, but if more of my friends would have said, "Hey, JR, hey man, you put on too much weight here, man. It's not healthy." I wish I would have got some criticism. Maybe I would have been motivated to get the weight off, not incur diabetes, not have to deal with amputation, not to deal with high blood pressure. I mean, these are all things now that are under control, but they came at a heavy cost, Tom. And so we need to not, out of love, not necessarily negativity, be willing to tell some positive criticism for people when they're doing wrong. There's nothing wrong with speaking up. We made a sin out of speaking up these days. And now we just turn to the government that whatever the government says is okay is okay. But we know the government, that the capitalists and the people with power have unfair influence over the government. Whatever they want is what they get.
Because they pay the bills.
Yes, whether it's good for us or our children or not, it doesn't matter. It all comes down to what's good for them, and they stack the deck in their favor.
All right, Jimmy, while we still got a little time, we have about 20 minutes left. We have building economic power, and if we have time, a couple of sports stories that we may be able to get to. So why don't we start on building economic power, and then see if we have a little time to get with a couple of sports clips. I think it was LeBron and Stephen A. that got this ongoing beef, and then your beloved Mavericks and Cowboys if we have time. But we'll start with building economic power.
On the economic front, Tom, we've got to start small. We've talked about this before.
Yes, of course.
We have to start small and grow big. And everybody should have a side hustle. Whether you picking cans up and selling aluminum cans, recycling newspaper, hell, setting up a lemonade stand. But if you have a good job that pays well, okay, great. But have a little side business, a little side hustle that brings in some extra income so you learn how to price things, how to market things, how to brand. Start learning those business acumen yourself so you can pass these on to your children. And you don't have to have, you don't have to be on the Fortune 500 list. You don't have to worry about your little business doesn't make a lot of money. That's not the point. The point is that we have to pay our dues and learn how to make this work for us. So we all need to have something. Invest in real estate. If you don't want to run it yourself, then get 3 or 4 of your buddies. Y'all all chip in a little money. We just had Brother Harrington on, and him and the Austin chapter, the frat down there, they got a house. They're renting that house out on Airbnb. They're doing things, Tom, to bring in some money collectively. So if you don't have a hustle of your own, then get with some friends, get with some fraternity brothers and sisters, sorority sisters, get with people that you know, and do it collectively. But do it so you can gain the knowledge on how to do it. So if the day ever comes when you're out of work and you need to rely on this for your survival or pass these skills on to your children, Tom, we'll be making progress on developing the economic front that we can own and control, that we can make ours. Right now, we're still too many of us on our knees begging white folks for freedom and our survival. If they don't deliver food to our neighborhoods, then our neighborhoods become a desert. If they don't provide jobs for us, then we cry that it's racist and not fair. When we have to do a lot more for ourselves, we can do that, Tom, but we have to learn how to play the game. And like they say, don't hate the player, don't hate the game, hate the player. So right now, we're just not playing the game very well.
There are a lot of ways to, a lot of vectors or a lot of channels, as we say in sales, in order to achieve that, Jimmy. The things that I would always defer to if possible. If you're going to invest in something that is going to be generating passive income, because of course you only have so many hours in a day, you only have so many days in a week. So whether it's real estate, to your point, whether it's investing in the stock market, if you buy a small business, get somebody else to run it for you, outsourcing the physical labor, because the challenge with getting a bunch of side hustles is you absolutely have no time. And if you have a family, that can be a big challenge, because you're unfortunately going to end up sacrificing something that's a great deal more essential to you in terms of your family life and your children. And we know sometimes what happens when they have parents who are working all the time, spending no time with kids. True. It doesn't typically work out too well. But getting back to the original point, Jimmy, we have to become more entrepreneurial as our ancestors did. Our great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents, whether they were farmers, whether they were bricklayers and masons, whether they, whatever it is they, were into, opening up a community grocery store, Jimmy. The only way that we're going to build our economy, obviously, is becoming more entrepreneurial. And number 2, setting up a code of conduct. Well, we ensure that the businesses that either we are running or other people are running stay in business. That is what any economically independent culture or group does, Jimmy. And the reality of it is, for those businesses that don't either they don't have a good business model, they don't have very good service, put them out of business, but put one back in business that is going to serve your community the right way. But we have to build our own economy. We cannot continue to depend on other folks to feed us to provide jobs, because as Malcolm X would say, when you depend on the man from anything else, he can take it away as well.
True. And on top of that, Tom, if you don't have time to run a business yourself, then become an investor. Find a way to put a few dollars aside that you don't need, and find someone whose dream you can believe in and get with. There was I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He was one of the owners of the Brooklyn Nets before they sold. He was a Russian guy. But I saw him in an interview, and he said, I think he invested in Google, how he made some money. But the point was that he took $10 million of his money time and wrote 10 different checks to 10 different venture capitalists to invest. And on 8 of those deals, 8 of them lost money for him. The money just, didn't work out. They found some investments, but 2 of them worked out really well. And he made enough money off those 2 investments to cover his $10 million investment overall. So the investment game, a lot of times, is a numbers game, like anything else. The first thing you invest in is not going to hit a grand slam home run. So you may need to invest in 4 things, 5 things, a little money here, a little money there, into different business things to find one that actually works for you, that end up working, that will cover all the money you invested plus some in the long term. So that's just how the investment game works. But whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an investor, or you're just working in someone's business, learning the ropes. But like you said, and the other thing, Tom, I'm going to give you a shameful plug here. My co-host here, Tom, is a master salesperson. I'm telling you guys, and he's open to doing some coaching publicly and privately. So if you want, everybody should know how to sell. I mean, really, I don't care what you are, where you are in life. Learn to sell yourself, learn to sell products, learn to sell your promotion, and as to why the company needs to go with your idea. Learn to sell. It will help you in the long run. And if you have trouble selling, which most of us do, I would say reach out to someone like Tom, arrange for some private coaching if you want. He'd be glad to work with you. But learn to sell. That should be the first step, and where all of us should be. And then learn to get involved with business development, either as an entrepreneur, as a developer, or someone just working in a business, or just helping out. You don't even have to be an investor, but someone's trying to grow a business. Maybe you don't have money to help out, but you have some soft skills you can learn. Maybe you can help develop a logo. You can help with the marketing by spreading the word. But whatever it is, we need to focus a lot more on business development, Tom, and become better at it than what we are.
I would agree, Jimmy. And, if you're becoming a business owner, there are a couple of different ways you can do that. Obviously, you can start a business. You can build a brand, as Jimmy has a lot of experience in, because, I call Jimmy a serial entrepreneur. He has done a lot of different things over the year. But building your own brand in your business, number 2, you can invest in a business to what Jimmy spoke to a little bit earlier, or you can just invest in an established brand. Folks who eat McDonald's food ain't got no stock, don't make no sense to me. If you go to Costco, ain't got no Costco stock, don't make sense to me. Now, Costco stock is kind of expensive. It's about $900-something a share. But if you spend all that money, I know people, Jimmy, they'll spend $200+ at one trip to Costco. You trying to tell me over a couple of months, you can spend $200 a month, a couple of times a month. After 2 or 3 months, that's a share of Costco stock. Or Nike. As much Nike wearing folk that we got in our community, how many people got Nike stock? But to Jimmy's earlier point, when we were talking about the football brand, Jerry Jones invested how much money in the
$186 million when he bought the Cowboys.
And how much is it worth now?
$8 billion, $12 billion.
Everybody.
It's the most expensive franchise in the world. Go ahead.
Everybody's not going to be able to be a owner of an NFL franchise, but the point being, Jerry, the most successful business people invest and hold.
And I believe Jerry, Tom, to scrape up the money he had to leverage everything, his all company, everything. And then he had to go to his dad to borrow money to pay for the draft, because that means make payroll. And And so sometimes you have to be all in, but that worked out really well because he's multi-billionaire beyond belief now, just on the Cowboys. And the other thing, Tom, you were talking about buying stock. I believe that was Warren Buffett's advice. Buy stock in the companies that from the business that you support. If you eat at McDonald's, buy some McDonald's stock. You go to Costco, buy Costco. If you go to Walmart, support the company that buy their stock that you support already. You don't have to be a big time investor. You don't have to be reading reports and 501ks and these different report 10K reports trying to figure out the capitalization and whether it's a good investment or not. If it's something that you support, buy their stock, period.
Yeah.
Other people are thinking just like you.
Exactly. I mean, you need to look at your credit card bill every month and look at those brands that you are investing in terms of products and services, Jimmy. And okay, for instance, Coca-Cola is now $70 a share.
Okay.
And that, that's expensive. I don't want $70. How much money have you spent on Coca-Cola over a doggone lifetime to say that's too expensive? Look at your credit card bill and look at the brands, find out if they are publicly traded, and see if it makes sense to invest in that brand. Are they making money? Do they have good fundamentals?
I know for certain I probably spend on Diet Coke, let's say about $20 a month. So you're absolutely correct. At the course of a year, we're talking over $20. So that could have easily been 3 shares of Coca-Cola stock right there.
Yeah, I bought some Nike stock a while ago, but then they did some things that didn't really align with my political views, and I dropped the Nike stock, but I replaced it with something else.
There you go.
That's the point. All that being said, we got about 9 minutes left to the top of the hour, Jimmy. We will definitely be continuing.
Let's flip a coin. Is it going to be Mavs or Cowboys? Which one?
Repeat that.
Let's flip a coin. Is it Mavs or Cowboys?
Let's do the
Cowboys. We've got enough time to do one of them justice.
Okay, in that case, why don't we? Or there was also Stephen A. Smith and LeBron as well.
Oh, okay, that's right. There's a third one. Which one?
Let's do Stephen A. and LeBron.
Okay.
What's the beef, Jimmy? What's the beef between Stephen A. and LeBron, or LeBron and Stephen A.?
I believe Stephen A. on his ESPN show made the comment about Bronny James being made a laughingstock. That he could miss a layup or shoot an air ball, and then the video would go viral with everyone laughing at him. And that this would not have happened if his dad, I'm going to say the assistant GOAT, he's not the GOAT, I know he wants to be, but we're going to zero that for Michael. There's another conversation.
Almost GOAT.
But he could be co-GOAT. He could be almost GOAT. He could be one of the GOATed parents that's coming up if he win 2 more championships, which I doubt, but we'll see. Didn't take the comment too easily. So at a Lakers game where Stephen A. Smith had to be attending, LeBron went up to him and told him that he didn't appreciate him insulting him as a dad, saying that he's a bad dad because he put his son in this situation to be ridiculed. And of course, Stephen A. said that he didn't respond at the time because he gets paid to give his opinion. And the last thing he wanted to was to embarrass ESPN by getting into a back and forth confrontation with LeBron James on the halftime of a basketball game that was being broadcast nationwide. So he just took it and went on, and of course commented on it later. And so they've been having kind of the back and forth. And I kind of see it both ways, Tom. Look, LeBron James is a celebrity. He's a billionaire. I'm sorry. Public criticism just goes with it. Yeah. You can't be a public figure and not expect to be criticized. And there's some truth to it. If Bronny James had earned his spot either in the G League or in the NBA, whatever he's doing, just earned it without your help. He played on some other team. You don't have to use your influence. Like, for instance, David Robinson's son played up at Duke. After he played for Duke, he played in the G League. Not very good, but David Robinson not using his influence to open doors that I know of for his son. But you use your leverage to get your son drafted. Use your leverage to get your son selected to the McDonald's All-American team. He was an okay high school player, but he wasn't McDonald All-American high school player material. Tom, he averaged 4 points a game, 3.9 to be exact, at USC, which is not exactly a powerhouse on the male side. They were on the women's side until Juju Watson got hurt. But that's another story too. But 4 points a game, Tom, does not get you into the NBA.
College at that.
Yeah, to get you into the NBA for the Lakers as a second-round draft pick, unless your dad is LeBron James, who's saying, I want to play with my son, and if somebody else drafts him, I'm going to request a trade to that team. Okay, that's some pressure for your ASS at that point. But so maybe Stephen A. is correct in saying that you put your son in this situation to be ridiculed this way. Now anything he does that's bad is going to be highlighted because you opened so many doors for him and he didn't earn it. That's the way people are looking at it. Rather, if he had earned his spot as a 12th man on the team or earned a spot in the G League, it would be different. If he messed up then, so what? You sit at the end of the bench or you in the G League. That's to be expected. But when you're the wannabe GOAT son who got you on a team that desperately needed help.
Well, Jimmy, it is very difficult being the offspring of an extremely famous person. I mean, MJ had a couple of sons. They didn't turn out to be anywhere even close to MJ, but MJ did not negotiate to get his sons, to my knowledge, onto any particular team. But in this case with LeBron, I guess that was one of his bucket list items, to play with his son, to be the first to ever do it. And I guess he got that. And I presume it's worth it to him. But on the other hand, Stephen A. is doing his job, and that's bringing eyeballs to his show and to the brand, with him being a sports commentator and a sports analyst. So he would, I think his reputation would be tarnished if he did not speak his truth to that. But on LeBron's side, as a father, you're going to protect your son. It's possible that two things can be both true at the same time. But the reality of it is LeBron James is a grown man. And yeah, I'm sure he reacted in a certain way because he felt that someone was attacking his son or him in the public airways. But that's
he felt that he was being attacked as a dad.
Yeah. So exactly. And so, for what it's worth, Jimmy, I guess it brings more attention and eyeballs to the NBA that really doesn't get very many eyeballs, especially compared to the NFL. But at the end of the day, I would 110%, 20 toes down, agree with you. There is no way that Bronny James would be on the Lakers squad, much less with a second-round pick.
I'm not even sure he make it to the G League. I watched, to prepare for this show, to be fair, I watched the highlights. I think just a recent G League game, he had 39 points, 37 points. He had a really good game. But, Tom, I'm watching him play, and to me, he still looks like a high school player. You playing against inferior talent. In the G League, these are guys who didn't make it to the NBA. You have David Robinson's son, who's not very good, playing in the G League. You have guys who are just not very good, and for you to say
they're not NBA good. They're not NBA good.
And you're not even playing against the elite talent in the G League. This team wasn't very good. That he scored 30-some points against, but he still did it. But he looked like a really good high school player, Tom, to me. If I had to go out there and draft him, there's no way I'm going to give him a college scholarship unless I'm at really some small school and I can't recruit any better. But as an NBA scout, there is no way in the world I'm wasting a second-round pick on Bronny James. No way, Tom. I don't care unless LeBron comes with him. It's the only way that I'm doing it. If LeBron's going to guarantee me that he's going to re-sign whatever team I'm drafting for, okay, fine. I'll draft you, son, just to get you. But otherwise, if you don't come with him, then no, he can say let somebody else take that 3.9 points a game player, and they take a chance on him.
Well, facts are facts, Jimmy. Yeah, I agree with you. There's no way Bronny's with the Lakers, period, without LeBron. But it is what it is. That's what he wanted, and that's what he got. So, you have to, take that knot on the head from Stephen A. and work it out in the public airways. And I guess we'll get to the Cowboys and the Mavs next week. And by that time, I think we'll know who the Final Four are going to be in the NCAA men's playoffs, and I believe maybe the girls as well. So we can definitely maybe get to those stories next week since we are live.
Hey, one last thing before we close, because I know we're almost out of time. For our viewing party, we picked the location?
We have not.
Okay. Will we have time before next week's show?
We can definitely see if we can figure that out.
Okay, because I was going to say, if you're in the DFW area and you want to come join us for NCAA viewing party, we will be getting together. Is it April 7th?
Yes, it is.
Okay. We'll see if we can make that announcement. You're welcome to come join us and drink, eat, pick our brains, ask questions, chat, all that good stuff. That being said, with that being said, Tom, go ahead and close us out.
All right.
In the show.
We want to thank everybody for joining this evening. If you've not done so already, make sure that you hit that subscribe button or like this show. We want to thank everybody for your support and your love. And of course, we will be back next year. Oh, my cousin, Miss Elisa, the attorney, is jumped on the chat line.
Okay.
So thank you for joining us as well. And we will see you next week, Jimmy, because if it's Wednesday night,
it's Black Man Speak.
Good night, everyone.